Right, children, in this example I'm going to teach you about how these cell references work, how the relative cell reference works and the absolute cell reference works in a simple example of fruit shop that I have created to you. And there are some datas, and I have done a few calculations here also, and each fruit and its quantity and its cost price is mentioned here. And you must remember that there is a transport tax of 10% for each of these fruits that he have brought to his shop. So let's see how it works. Now, for instance, let us consider about the apple. Now, the other quantities I have deleted out, but let me just only emphasize about how this formula and this function works. Now over here I have an apple and the cost price is 30, and I have a quantity of 10 apples, and I have got a sales tax of 30 rupees, and my total cost is for these 10 apples 330. Now how did I get 30 as my 10% tax? So if I happen to click over here, I have used a function equal sum, and I have mentioned that multiply the value of C3 the cost price, into D3 the quantity price. So I get the value of 10 multiplied by 3 is 300. From 300 multiply the absolute cell references of F1, that is 10%, and then I get a value of, that means the 10% of the 300 is, if I enter, I get 30 rupees. I hope you understood. Now I have mentioned here an absolute cell, a cell that never changes. It freezes, it locks that value, and it never changes to the next cell reference like the relative. And I get, how did I get the total cost next? So what I did is I multiplied by quantity by the sales and then added my sales tax. So I should get 330. Now if I continue with my quantities of the following, and this time it's orange, so I can do the same thing using I can use, instead of a function, I can use a formula using equal sum. Without equal sum, I'll multiply the cost price with the given quantity, and that particular answer I'm going to multiply by the absolute cell references. So my absolute cell references will be absolute F and absolute row. So the column and the row freezes, or it never changes, and if I happen to enter that, now I get 25 of sales tax or the transport tax. So same way I can use the same function or the same formula. I can use a formula or a function In this I'm going to use a formula equal with the bracket open. So what do? I'll multiply the cost price into the quantity, and then I will add the following tax to the following total cost. So I should get 275. Now see over here, it's a formula. Now this, it's a function. Now over here I have made a relative column. Relative column means a column that will never change. So I can use over here also absolute column, the absolute column, and it will stay as absolute for the rest of the table without changing. And if I happen to drag all these things, I should get a good solid Excel worksheet using a formula and a function, and using an absolute cell and a relative column. And I hope you understood that. And then going down, I made another over here. I wanted to see how is my total cost and my total sales, and whether I have got a profit or a loss. Over here I have mentioned that the details that are coming from here, let me just take an arrow, the details that are coming from here to here, here to here, see, it's relative columns. All the informations from the F column are brought over here. So if I happen to drag this down, I should see that my informations here are almost relative or absolutely column wise given. Anything that changes here, for instance, if I make this pineapple for 50, it changes to 550 as well as 550 here also. So I made a relative or absolute column, placing the dollar mark in front of the column letter. Okay, right. Now how did I get my total sales? I made a function, or of, let's say, a function using equal sum, and I said multiply the value of 330 into 50%. I have multiplied this value into 50% and add the total cost sales. So if I delete this, and if I just use only this, I should get 165 rupees without my total cost. So I have got the total, so I have only now earned 165 rupees. So I have made this to be relative, absolute column 320, and I have added that to my profit or to my total sales. So I have got the total cost as well as a 50% of my total cost. So 330 multiplied by 50%, and then added the 320 I get 495. I happen to bring apples 10 quantities at the rate of 30 rupees. 30 rupees and a tax of 30 added to it, it's 330. So 330 I have, that's my total cost. Now I have sold, once I have sold this with a 50% of the cost, I have got now 495. Now what's my profit? Am I getting a profit or a loss? So you should know I used a function here. You can use a formula if you want. Let's just delete this and make a formula. D14, that means 495 subtract 330. I get a profit of 165 rupees and 55 rupees I have got. So if you happen to drag these two together with my fill handle, I should get, at the end of the day, I should get a good profit. So I can use a simple scenario like say GRE, let's say grand total, GRE in the grand total, I can use either equal sum from here to here, C14 to C21, I get 2007 as a total cost, and I can use a formula, but make sure that if I use now this, you are going to, if I do this and see what am I going to get now. I used a formula and I set the range from D14 to D21, and if I enter now, I get a value. That means the formula never works. If you are trying to make a formula, this range never works. So you have to do this way then. D14 plus D15 plus D. So it's going to be a little hard, but at the end of the day you will be able to get what you are thinking of using a formula. So you have to define, you have to decide whether you are going to use a formula or a function. 300. So here, look here, it's a big total, a total plus. So it's up to you to decide whether you want a predefined a formula or a formula that you intend to add like this. So at the end, I certainly get as a profit, I have got a profit of 1,375 for the total for all these fruits. I hope you understood this. When I start my next session, I'll give you some questions and try to find the answers using either a formula or a function. Have a nice day. God bless you. Take care and be safe. Bye for now.